Well, good morning. The production of the Cottom Christmas letter is a tradition probably since the children have flown the nest. Once a year, a very brief roundup to friends we don't generally see. The biggest part of it is about our children and grandchildren. In Luke's Gospel, he records the writing of Zechariah in the form of a poem or song. It's written at the end of a tumultuous year. Zechariah met an angel. He was struck dumb. There was pregnancy after years of heartbreak. And because of his and his wife's age, it's biologically impossible. There's the birth of a very special son. And this is reflected in his name, which is John, means God is gracious. There's something surprising in his letter that you won't see in mine. Even though the big news is of the birth of his special son, 80% of his words are about someone else's son. Even though he is overjoyed by the birth of John, his deeper joy comes from looking forward to the birth of Christ. And this is reflected in his words in Luke chapter 1 and verse 78. Whereby the sunrise shall visit us from on high, to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. Here Zechariah sees Christ as the sunrise who shall visit us and give light to those who sit in the shadow of death. It's taken from Malachi 4. The idea is one of release. Malachi includes the picture of calves leaping when they are let out from the pen. So like sunrise releases the earth from the darkness of the night, so Jesus will release those who sit in the shadow of death, replacing fear with peace. Now this year, more than any year in my remembrance, are we aware of the shadow of death. There's daily numbers of deaths. Lockdown to prevent it. The vulnerable are shielding. Death hangs like a shadow, ever present, dark, cold. When I was diagnosed with atrial fibrillation this year, the GP told me if I was untreated, I was 5 times more likely to have a stroke. For a moment, the shadow darkened and got colder. Now I know for some that's in our congregation, that's a very present experience. So maybe more than any other year, we need to hear Zechariah's words about Christ's birth. The sunrise shall visit us from on high, to give light to those who sit in the shadow of death. Jesus came and dealt with death. We needn't sit in its shadow of fear. He wants to guide us to peace, that quiet, comforting assurance that comes from being reconciled to God and sure that he has us in his hands. What does that look like? Some of us have been reading through Acts this month. At one point, Peter is on death row. He's heavily guarded so that the execution in the morning is certain. But what does he do? He sleeps deeply. He's at peace. For him, his experience of Christ is such that death is not the extinguishing of the light, it is the putting out of the lamp, because dawn, or the sunrise, has come. Pray that you'll know that peace this Christmas.